Video. I want to get some analysis from our guest who is standing by. We have national trial attorney Michael Jaafar with us. Michael, so good to have you on the show and to talk about this case, because I feel like there are a lot of cases that are similar to this one that I've talked to you about in the past, including the Ethan Crumbley case, where we have parents or someone who is not the child who is the shooter getting found liable. Now, this person here, this principal, she is not, we're not dealing with the criminal case here, but she is facing criminal charges. They are still pending. What are your thoughts on this case and where we are with a principal being found responsible?
This is very typical in the civil arena, right? If anybody thinks that like a felony case or a murder case, the defense attorney has a complicated role, you see nothing until you see this case. The plaintiff attorney here have to thread a very, very thin needle. 3 days ago, I predicted that this case would settle before trial. I was wrong, and I think I know why. The defense attorney for the teacher is saying that they have to show that she had a complete depraved mentality towards this, and that they said that a 6-year-old child having a gun and shooting a teacher is virtually unprecedented. I tried to find a precedent, I couldn't find it, so I think they're right. So it comes down to whether or not this principal, and what planet would you imagine a 6-year-old carrying a gun? She said he had little pockets. So this case is very fascinating. I have a case very similar to this right now. Those cases are very, very complicated. You have to thread a very specific needle. So the plaintiff attorneys for Abby Zwerner, it's not enough for them to win the case. The whole point is to have your client get paid. Well, your client doesn't get paid by you just winning the case. You have to win it in a very specific way. So you're going to see a lot of very cerebral examinations and cross-examinations. There's going to be jockeying for position with every witness. This is going to be a very complicated case. I cannot imagine how complicated the jury instruction is going to be at the end of this case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I want to ask you this, because a lot of people are asking, why are they going after a principal? She can't have that much money. We're talking about a $40 million lawsuit. First thing, we don't know that this jury is going to be asked to award $40 million. We will know during closing arguments what they ultimately asked this jury for. Also, I want to get your take on the Virginia Risk Sharing Association that is helping. They have liability coverage for public officials like the principal. They apparently are paying for her defense counsel. So do you think they refuse to settle this case just because they are a risk-sharing association? And there's something else that's involved oftentimes when it comes to making that agreement.
You asked the excellent question. This is exactly why they say this case is complicated. The reason that they're suing her is because there's governmental immunity for the school district, right? So you have to, when you file these kinds of cases against municipalities, you have to allege negligence against an actor, against an employee of that agency, a human being. It's not enough to allege it against the municipal, because then people would just sue schools and municipal authorities all the time. You have to allege negligence against a person working for the municipality. In this case, it's the assistant principal. They've identified her as a person who derogated her duties and did the negligent act. That's why they're suing her personally. They have to do it. In terms of the insurance, there's self-insurance from the Virginia Municipal Authority, and so the insurance scheme in the labyrinth is extremely complicated. Just imagine suing somebody who has a labyrinth of insurance and coverage and umbrella policies, and that's when somebody's a private person, let alone a government actor. There's so much, the insurance scheme itself, to get to the insurance and to get to the insurance, to even have them not just defend her, but indemnify her, because it's one thing for them to defend her. It's another thing at the end of the case, if they win, there's going to be another trial after this trial to see whether or not the contract requires them to even pay. Well, that's why you're seeing this. That
is good information, because I know a lot of people are wondering, why are we here? That's a good reason why we are here. Michael Jaafar, stand by. We're going to get to our break. Good reminder, no witnesses, no jurors should be watching court TV. But we're all watching this, and Michael Jaafar is still with us and watching this. Michael, I know a lot of people are wondering, what about the parents? Is that where the buck stops here? These teachers have an important, but sometimes it's seemingly impossible job. I was a kid of a teacher, so I think I'm even more sensitive to what all teachers deal with on a daily basis and never make it into a courtroom. No one ever even acknowledges what all they are dealing with. But we have here the responsibility falling beyond the teacher to the principal.
100%. A 6-year-old kid brought a gun to school. I have a 6-year-old right now. He's in my house. how would they even know how to operate a gun? This is actually unprecedented. The responsibility, in my opinion, goes directly to the parents from a criminal standpoint. I know that she's also the assistant principal is facing criminal charges, but this is an unprecedented situation. It's fascinating me. It's just not even as an attorney, as a parent, I'm riveted. I want to see how this saga plays out.
Yeah, and the mother is actually serving on felony charges in this case for child neglect. But you have the principal here facing felony charges as well. Do you think that that's going to impact whether or not she takes a stand? Because when we have a civil trial, usually the plaintiff can call the defendant. But here I'm not so sure, since she's going to have to face a criminal jury.
That's a great question. I actually, you know what, that's going to be riveting to know as well, whether or not she takes the stand. She has the right to plead the fifth. You can't avoid testifying in a civil case unless you are facing a criminal case. So she can, in fact, do that. And obviously, they did not postpone this civil trial like they did in other high-profile cases for the criminal case to finish itself. So she can avoid taking the stand. Whether or not she should, I think she should take the stand, because at the end of the day, you have a strong case, both in your criminal defense case and in your civil case. You have a strong case. I'm a principal. I've got a bunch of kids to take care of. A gun in a 6-year-old's pocket is not one of the things I worry about when I come to work in the morning. Hindsight 2020, I think she should take the stand.
Oh, good. That's interesting, because you almost never hear that from defense attorneys. Real quick before we go, so foreseeability is what it's all about. This jury has to decide, was this foreseeable? And I think the reason this made headlines is because we'd never heard of such a thing. Perhaps a 6-year-old having a gun in school, but not pulling the trigger and injuring someone.
6-year-old child's hands are very small. I'm baffled that this even happened. A 6-year-old, when holding a gun, trying to fire, how do you even know it's going to fire in the direction you want? It's just absolutely, completely mind-boggling that this happened.
Oh, wow. Michael Jaafar, thanks so much for all of your analysis. We'll see you the next time.